Hey everyone, my name is Chris Gagne and I am a Agile coach. And I want to share a tool that I made for you today. It's a velocity forecasting tool based on your historical velocity and development capacity. And you can find it by just going to aptips/velocity. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring up this Google Sheet for you. And you're going to want to make a copy of this Google Sheet because you're not going to be able to edit my version of it, and store that copy in your Google Drive, and you can make one copy for each of the teams that you're working with. And I'm going to read these instructions with you. So this is designed for working with a velocity, 30 story points, 40 story points, something like that, right? You can also use it for a number of stories. Hey, last sprint we finished 10 stories. This sprint we're going to finish 11 stories perhaps. That works really well if your stories are relatively small and homogeneous. Or we can even do fractional stories. Hey, we think this is a half a story, this is a full story, this is 2 stories. Kind of any way you want to do it. I think this tool will work just fine. I don't think it's going to work too well for hours, but if you try it, give it a shot. So again, it's designed for velocity. But there's also this other concept that I want to introduce called capacity. Capacity is simply the number of developer days your team has in your sprint. So let's say you've got 5 developers, plus your Scrum Master and your product owner, and you're doing 2-week sprints. Your capacity, if everybody's working the whole time, is 10 times 5 or 50 developer days. And you might say, well, yes, but we've got sprint planning and backlog refinement and daily scrum and sprint review and retrospective. We don't really have 10 days worth of work. Maybe we have 9. You can do that, but I don't think it's actually worth it. This is a scaling function, so I would just assume 5 days per week of your sprint per developer. If you've got someone playing double duty, I wouldn't recommend it. Your Scrum Master should be a full-time Scrum Master. Your PO should be a full-time PO. But if somebody's fractional on the team, let's say half Scrum Master, half developer, you can give them 5 days against your capacity, or even knock it down to 4, because you're going to have to do a little bit of context switching. Assuming that you've got a few sprints of useful data in the tool, what this is going to do is this is going to give you a forecasted velocity based on the average of up to your last 3 sprints velocity and capacity. So if you completed 25, 24, and 31 story points over the last 3 sprints with 45, 43, and 50 days of capacity, and you're forecasting your capacity of about 47 in the sprint, here's the formula. You're going to get a forecasted velocity of 30 points. If you don't have 3 sprints of data yet, no big deal. It's going to do the best with just 1 or 2 sprints worth of data. So let's just jump right into the tool. There's an example here as well, but let's just go through it together. So let's say I've got a team of 5 developers, and we have a full 2-week sprint. So my capacity is going to be 50, 5 times 10. Now, we don't have a historical velocity, so we're just going to have to take a guess. And we can use the fist of 5 technique, which you can find at ap.tips/fist of 5. And that's going to help you kind of get a guess as to what you think you can do. But let's say that you think you can do about 30 points worth of work. Fast forward 2 weeks. Okay, now you're actually at your demo, and you were able to complete 25 story points against your backlog, your sprint backlog. They meet your acceptance criteria, they meet your definition of done. So you were able to do about 83%. This is your say-do ratio. You said you were going to do 30, you did 25, your say-do ratio is 83%. That's pretty good, right? But then let's also say that the reason why we couldn't do that 25 points worth of work is because we've got about 8 points worth of unplanned work. So I think it can be really helpful to calculate some of your unplanned work story points, so you can begin to forecast and see the impact that's having on you. Where is that time going? All right, so we just did our demo, we did our retrospective. Now we're going into sprint planning, and one of our dev team members is taking a whole week off. So rather than 50 points, we got 45. There we go. Okay, well, say my planned velocity should be 22. My unplanned velocity is probably going to be about 8. So it's actually going to average the unplanned velocity. So we're probably still going to get about 30 points worth of work done, but it's warning me that of those 30, 8 of them are going to be unplanned. Now, why 30 instead of 33? Well, because we're down about 10% of our capacity. Okay, so we're going to be good and empirical and diligent. We're going to pull in 22 points of this work, and we get to sprint planning, sprint review, And we're able to do all 22 of those points. And the good news is that this sprint, we only had 3 points worth of unplanned work. So our say-do ratio is 100%. We completed 100% of the work that we said we're going to do. Okay, so now let's go into some of our sprint 3 now. And the whole gang's here, but one person's taking a day off. So 49 days of capacity. And we can see that the planned velocity being calculated is now 24. The unplanned velocity has gone down a little bit because we can see that we only had 3 points worth of unplanned work. And so our total velocity is 30 again, but we're going to pull in this 24 because that's what we're planning for. So we pull in that 24, and at the sprint demo, this time we actually got more work done than planned. So we actually decided to pull in work. So we completed those 24 points nice and early. We still had a few days left. So rather than unplanned work coming in and taking over our sprint, we're actually going to increase our planned work and saying, hey, this is actually work that we really wanted to pull in from the backlog rather than just random things that came up. So our planned work, let's say that we pulled in 27 points worth of unplanned work, and we didn't have any unplanned work because we had excess capacity. Okay, well, look at this. Our say-do ratio is 113% because we completed 27 points when we really were only hoping to accomplish 24. All right, now we've got sprint 4. Let's say we got 43 developer days. It's telling me what my planned velocity should be. Notice that I have a couple developers taking a few days off, so that's really dropping my planned velocity. Notice that it's still tracking some of that unplanned velocity for me because it's still taking the average of these last 3 for me. So 11 divided by 3 is about 4. It's rounding up to keep it simple. And so I'm going to plan for 21 points. And you can see how this goes. Let's just finish this sprint. And let's say we were a little bit low this sprint. We got 20 points done, and we have 5 points unplanned work. So you can see where this is going. Now, let's say that we have a major shakeup on our team. Maybe let's say we lost one of our developers, we added a couple new developers. We're going to want to reset our sprint velocity. Our tracking here is going to use new data going forward from this point. So let's say that we added somebody to our team and somebody's taking 3 days off. So that's 60 minus 3, right? So let's call it 57. But I'm beginning to think that this historical data isn't so useful anymore. So I'm going to put just any character here in this reset field. It's going to tell me it really doesn't know what planned velocity to use. So I can kind of take a look at it, say, okay, well, probably 29, but I'm not really sure. I'm going to be conservative. Maybe I pretend that that new developer isn't going to make any difference yet. So I'm just going to probably plan for 23. There's that 57 back. I'm going to plan for 23 points worth of work. Here we go. We actually got a lot more done than expected, 26 points. We had 2 points worth of unplanned work. And now you can begin to see, now that we're at this new full team strength, it's only pulling in the data from the last iteration. What we completed, it's adding a little bit more because of a little bit extra capacity, and we can see this planned work. So there's an example here for you that you can see how this works even when you make a copy of it. And good luck. Tell me how this goes for you. Thanks.